You owe Derek an apology. That was the first thing Nicole said when I walked through the door after a 12-hour shift. No hello, no kiss, just that. Her voice had that specific kind of fake calm women use when they've already decided you're wrong, no matter what comes out of your mouth. I set down my lunchbox on the counter. I owe him what now? She crossed her arms, leaned on one hip, eyes narrowed like a disappointed guidance counselor. You embarrassed him at the barbecue. You acted jealous and made a scene. I blinked slowly. You mean when he put his hand on your back and left it there like he was reading Braille? Don't twist it. He was being supportive. I had just told him about my promotion. I chuckled, one of those dry, humorless laughs that barely leaves the throat. Supportive, right? I must have missed the part where rubbing your lower spine counts as workplace congratulations. Her face didn't twitch. She'd practiced this. She wanted to control the narrative before I even sat down. You're being paranoid again. Derek is my best friend. You've always been insecure about that. Ah, there it was. The word, insecure. The magic bullet. It's the equivalent of a chess player calling you bad at the game right before sliding your queen off the board. No matter what you say next, you've already lost. Still, I just stood there, silent, watching her. I wasn't angry. Not in the way she expected. No shouting, no finger pointing. Just a strange sort of stillness blooming inside me. The kind of stillness that doesn't rise. It calculates. Okay, I said. She blinked. Okay. I'll apologize. You're right. I wish I had a camera on her face at that moment. It didn't light up with gratitude. It twitched slightly, like she couldn't figure out why I was being so calm. Like the playbook didn't cover this scenario. But she covered it quickly with a bright smile, like she'd just won something. That means a lot, she said, stepping forward to kiss me on the cheek. Her tone softened. I just want things to be easy again. I nodded but didn't kiss her back. Yeah, I muttered. Me too. She didn't notice, or pretended not to. Now, look, I'm not the type to explode or throw accusations. That's not my style. But something in that exchange stuck in my throat like a fishbone. Something didn't sit right. The way she was trying to turn my discomfort into his embarrassment. The way she needed me to be the problem so she didn't have to explain him. That's the kind of thing that eats a man from the inside out if he doesn't address it. Not with rage, with precision. That night, while Nicole scrolled through her phone beside me in bed, I just lay there in the dark, pretending to sleep. But I wasn't sleeping. I was listening. Every faint giggle, every click of the keyboard. She didn't notice me not breathing. Didn't notice me not blinking. And when she finally turned over, setting the phone on the nightstand and muttering good night like we were roommates, I just watched the ceiling fan spin. I wasn't thinking of what to say to Derek. I was thinking of how this whole thing started feeling less like a marriage and more like a carefully curated PR campaign I didn't consent to star in. She wanted me to apologize to the man who put his hand on her like she was an asset. Fine. I would. But not the way she expected, and not for what she thought. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet, in that strained, brittle way where the silence isn't peace, it's theater. Nicole floated through the house, humming under her breath, setting her phone screen down more often than usual, like she'd just discovered discretion after 10 years of oversharing. She'd started calling Derek by name more often in casual conversation, as if name-dropping him enough would normalize it. Derek said the funniest thing at lunch, she'd say while stirring her coffee. Or, Derek helped me fix that glitchy spreadsheet. He's such a lifesaver. I'd nod, chewing toast or sipping coffee, giving her exactly what she wanted. Passive acknowledgement. What she didn't know was that I'd stopped listening to her words. I was watching her eyes. You can tell a lot by how someone looks at their phone. Some people look at it like a tool. Nicole started looking at it like it was breathing. She'd smile at it, not big or theatrical, just a small, private curl of the lip that didn't belong to anything in the room. I'd be sitting 2 feet away and still feel like I was watching someone rehearse intimacy with a ghost. Then one Thursday night after dinner, she headed to the shower. Said she'd be quick. Her phone buzzed once on the counter. Then again. The screen lit up just briefly enough to catch a preview. You looked amazing today. No name, just a contact photo that had been conveniently replaced with the generic gray silhouette and 2 letters, D. I'm not a reckless man. I don't snoop. Not usually. But there's a difference between paranoia and pattern recognition. I picked up the phone, thumbed the screen, and it opened without a passcode. That part told me everything I needed to know. She didn't feel like she was hiding something because, in her head, it wasn't cheating. Not really. There weren't naked pictures, nothing that would scream affair to a jury. But what I found was worse in a way. It was curated affection. Digital breadcrumb trails, pictures of her at work, selfies from her car, inside jokes buried in threads of "you get me" texts, voice notes with him laughing, her calling him "you jerk" when he teased her about a dress, screenshots of memes just between them. Harmless, right? That's what they always say. Except it wasn't harmless. It was familiar. It was ours, once. I didn't flinch, didn't rage. I scrolled for 20 minutes, capturing timestamps, taking screenshots like I was a surveyor logging erosion damage. Then I opened my email, created a private folder, and sent everything to myself. Every thread, every subtle betrayal, every moment she decided he deserved her softness while I got her duty. When she came back from the shower, towel wrapped around her hair, skin flushed, she saw me standing by the window, sipping whiskey. "What are you doing?" "Just thinking." "About what?" "Work," I smiled. "And the apology?" She looked satisfied by that answer, almost smug. She walked past me, brushing my arm with hers, a little bounce in her step. Maybe she thought the crisis had passed, that her gentle manipulation had put the wolf back in his cage. I watched her settle onto the couch, legs tucked up, phone in hand, thumbs flying again. The smile returned, the private one, the not for me one. So I made a plan. Not to catch her. I already had. Not to yell. That would give her the upper hand. Make it about my reaction instead of her action. No, I decided to do what she least expected, be reasonable. Be quiet. Be methodical. Because when someone tries to gaslight you, the most dangerous thing you can do is act like the light is still on while you're busy rewiring the whole damn house. I didn't sleep much that night, but I didn't need sleep. I needed patience, and I had just enough. Saturday morning. She was slicing strawberries like she was auditioning for a cereal commercial. Sunlight through the window, robe tied just tight enough to suggest she'd remembered I existed. "I don't get why you're making this so weird," Nicole said, like we were mid-conversation. "Derek's wife doesn't mind our friendship." She dropped that line like it was the ultimate defense, the holy shield of innocence. "If Vanessa's okay with it, what's your problem?" I didn't look up from the newspaper, just turned the page, let the silence swell a bit before I responded. "Maybe I'll visit him, talk things out, men to men." That got her attention. Her hands paused mid-slice, knife hovering over a berry like she'd just nicked something tender. She wasn't expecting that. "You would really?" she asked, too quickly. I folded the paper. "Sure. Maybe I just need to hear it from him." There it was. That flicker again, that micro-expression of someone who's been bluffing a little too long and suddenly finds out the other player didn't fold. She covered it well, smiling again, voice syrupy. "That means a lot. I just want you two to get along." I smiled back. "Yeah, me too." She went back to her slicing, a little too fast now, like she was trying to outrun her thoughts. I grabbed my phone and stepped into the hallway, pulled up Derek's number. I hadn't texted him in months. No need. We existed in that tense, silent purgatory where two men who know too much about each other pretend they don't. Me. "Can we talk sometime this week? Just us men. I think it'd help clear the air." He replied 10 minutes later. "Sure. Swing by Monday after work. 5-ish. Then he sent an address. It wasn't his office. It wasn't a neutral spot. It was their house. Vanessa would be home. Perfect. I stared at the message for a long moment, like a chess player eyeing the exposed king. Then I went to my laptop and opened a spreadsheet. Not for finances, not for work, for details. Dates, patterns, messages. I started charting what I remembered. When Nicole was out late, when Derek cancelled his plans with Vanessa, when Nicole mentioned being too tired for anything. I cross-referenced it with those screenshots I'd sent to myself. I wasn't hunting for a single smoking gun. I was collecting the whole armory. Over the next 48 hours, I filled a folder. One tab for messages, one tab for photos, one for overlapping alibis. One particularly damning entry: for the weekend she said she was volunteering at the Design Expo in Baltimore. But the photo from Derek's social media showed him sipping wine at a hotel bar in D.C., with a blurry reflection in the window behind him that looked suspiciously like the top of Nicole's head. I printed that one, blew it up 2x. She never knew our cloud account was still syncing some of her photos to our old shared drive. Rookie mistake. There was one in particular, Nicole lying sideways on a hotel bed, a champagne flute next to her, captioned, "Room service always tastes better after a win." No timestamp on the photo, but the file metadata said otherwise. Same night, same city. I slid it into the folder. I didn't feel rage. I felt clarity. This wasn't going to be a confrontation. This was going to be a calibration. A moment where reality got restored, permanently. Monday came. Nicole made my coffee like everything was normal. "You're really going?" she asked. "Yep. Be nice." "I plan to." She kissed my cheek, too quickly. "Thank you for being mature about this." I laughed softly. "Yeah, that's me." She left it at that, heading to her Zoom meeting with her fake-ass brand strategy team. I waited till the clock hit 4:30. Then grabbed the folder, slipped it into a plain tote bag, and headed for Derek's. This wasn't an ambush. It was an autopsy, and I had all the tools. I spent Sunday in silence. Nicole went to yoga, then brunch, then a walk with Whitney from work. I didn't ask questions. She didn't offer answers. The way we were both pretending felt efficient, mechanical, like we were colleagues rehearsing a goodbye that neither of us wanted to speak aloud. Fine. I had work to do anyway. I sat up at the dining room table, printer on one end, laptop open, coffee at my elbow. No music, no distractions, just the quiet click of screenshots turning into paper. First, the texts. I kept them clean. No annotations, no underlines, just raw dialogue. The kind that didn't scream affair, but whispered erosion. The kind of intimacy you don't share with someone unless you've already left your marriage in your head. There was one message from Derek that hit different. "D, you don't need to explain yourself to him. He doesn't get it." And her reply, the one that sat in my gut like wet cement. N, I stopped trying to explain months ago. Months ago. And yet here she was, still in my house, eating my food, wearing the wedding band I bought, pretending we were just having a little rough patch. Next, I opened the shared cloud archive. Nicole never fully disconnected it when she upgraded her phone. Sloppy. I scrolled through old photo backups, organizing by location and time. Most were mundane: conference rooms, name tags, screenshots of design mock-ups. Then one stuck out. A selfie taken in a hotel room. Her hair still in a bun, wine glass in her hand. Low lighting, not suggestive, but intimate. The caption, "Long day." Worth it though. I checked the date, matched it against her calendar. She told me it was a one-day conference in Philly. Left early morning. Said she'd be back by nightfall. But the photo had a timestamp, 11:23 p.m. Next image, breakfast on a tray. Timestamp, 7:12 a.m. She hadn't come home. She never even told me. And then another photo I didn't expect to find. Not taken by her, but saved from a shared album she'd forgotten to unlink. Group shot, business casual, name tags, booth signage in the background. Derek off to the side with one arm around her shoulders. Nicole leaning into him slightly, laughing. It wasn't the pose. It was the comfort, the ease, the kind you don't fake with someone who's just a friend. I ran it through metadata check. Same location, same weekend. I kept printing. I found their Spotify share, list of songs they'd both liked, exchanged, even added to a "Work Hustle Vibes" playlist. Except none of those songs had ever played in our house. I printed that list, too. Then I made a timeline. Not detailed, just enough to make it visual. A line through our last 8 months. Where she'd gone, when she'd changed, when Derek's name started appearing more, and mine started appearing less. I didn't write a single angry word. This wasn't a manifesto. It was a presentation. By 6 p.m., I had 3 neatly organized sections: communication, location overlap, and inferred intimacy. No accusations, just facts. Facts with dates, visuals, and silence. It's the silence that breaks people. The moment they see you haven't screamed. Not because you're weak, but because you're already gone. I slipped it all into a cheap manila folder. Not a briefcase, nothing formal, just something boring, disposable. The folder wasn't for Nicole. And it sure as hell wasn't for Derek. It was for Vanessa. She was the variable no one had accounted for. The civilian casualty, the bystander, the one woman in this entire equation who deserved the truth. I don't know her. We've only met in passing, maybe twice. Polite smiles, holiday body waves. But I remember her eyes, alert, kind, a little tired. The kind of tired that comes from carrying a house while your husband plays harmless emotional support guy to another woman. They always say it wasn't physical. As if that's some badge of honor. As if dragging someone through a slow burn emotional affair doesn't poison just the same. Let them explain it to her. Let her decide what kind of marriage she's been living in. That night, Nicole asked what I wanted for dinner. I told her I'd eat out. Said I was meeting someone. She didn't ask who. I guess she assumed it was Derek. She was half right. Derek lived in a split-level suburban thing that screamed, "We're doing fine," in that fake HDTV sort of way. Beige vinyl siding, ceramic house numbers, seasonal wreath on the door. The kind of place where couples post filtered pumpkin patch photos while quietly negotiating who sleeps on the far edge of the bed that week. I parked across the street, engine off, folder on the passenger seat. I just sat there for a minute, watching the porch light flicker to life automatically, timed like everything in his world, probably synced to his thermostat. At exactly 5:03, I got out and walked up the driveway. The front door opened before I could knock. "Hey, man." Derek grinned like we were long-lost frat brothers. "Glad you came. Nicole said you wanted to smooth things out." Smooth things out. He wore that smug, diplomatic smile people get when they think you've finally accepted your supporting role in their emotional play. Like he'd won something and was graciously allowing me to recover my dignity in the credits. I nodded. "Appreciate you having me." As I stepped inside, I caught the scent of something citrusy. Diffuser in the corner, probably Vanessa's doing. A quiet house, clean, comfortable, forgettable. Vanessa emerged from the kitchen with a towel in her hands. She was shorter than I remembered, wearing a soft blue sweater, jeans, no makeup. She looked honest, not in the Pinterest perfect way, but in the "I've been carrying the load around here" kind of way. "You must be Marcus," she said warmly, like she didn't already suspect the room was about to shift. "Hi, Vanessa. Do you mind if I speak to both of you for a second?" Derek's head tilted slightly. Not enough to register alarm. Just that subtle lean animals do when they smell smoke, but haven't seen the flame yet. Vanessa glanced at him, then back at me. Of course. They both moved to the living room. Open plan, gray sectional, staged throw pillows with words like "home" and "us" stitched on them. I waited until they were both seated. Then I walked in slowly, like I was inspecting the room for weight distribution. Took the chair across from them, neutral, not aggressive, but centered. I set the folder on the coffee table gently. Neither of them touched it, but both of them saw it. "I came to apologize," I said, meeting Derek's eyes directly. His expression softened. Relief. He thought this was over. He probably rehearsed his benevolent speech about boundaries and communication. But not for what Nicole thinks. Vanessa's eyes flicked to her husband, then to me. Derek's smile tightened. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm not here to apologize for being possessive or paranoid, or whatever narrative's floating around. I'm here to make something very clear in front of both of you." Vanessa shifted in her seat, towel now crumpled in her lap. I didn't move. Didn't raise my voice, just leaned back slightly. I've been watching, and I've been listening. I didn't come to guess. I came with facts. I nodded to the folder. Vanessa reached for it slowly, like it might be hot. Derek opened his mouth, then closed it. I'd rather you hear it first, I said to Vanessa. Because I don't think anyone's told you the truth in a while. She hesitated, then flipped open the cover. Derek spoke finally. Marcus, this isn't. I held up a hand. Just 2 fingers. Slight, firm. Let her read. Vanessa's eyes scanned the first page. Text messages, dates. Not explicit, but layered enough to twist the stomach. The second page, the photo from the hotel. Her face didn't change. She just kept reading. Derek's breathing grew shallower. You could hear it now, that low rasp when the body starts to process panic. His knee began to bounce. You brought this here, he asked quietly. No, I said. I brought her here. Vanessa turned the page again. Paused. Then again. Each click of paper sounded louder than it should have in that clean, quiet house. I didn't say a word. Neither did she. The folder was doing all the speaking now. I just delivered it. The tension in the room wasn't explosive. It was surgical, like watching a scalpel slide through something that once held pressure, until it doesn't. Derek reached forward as if to take the folder from her. She pulled it slightly closer to her lap. He stopped. Good. She was still reading. And I was just getting started. Vanessa's hands trembled slightly as she turned the next page, but her face remained composed. Not blank, composed. That quiet, terrifying calm that only surfaces when someone's soul has slipped into shock, and the body is still pretending everything's fine. I watched her, not because I needed to see the damage, but because she deserved someone in the room who wasn't lying to her. Then I said it. Vanessa, I began, my voice level, almost gentle. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. She didn't look up, but I saw her blink once, slowly. That's when I knew she heard me. I turned to Derek. He was already looking at me. Not angry, not defensive, just white. Pale in that washed-out way that only comes from sudden exposure. He looked like a man who'd just realized the door he walked through doesn't lead back. And Derek, I continued, my tone shifting slightly, firmer, sharper, with a razor edge of contempt buried under courtesy. I'm sorry I didn't speak to you like a man sooner. That's on me. He opened his mouth, maybe to argue or deflect, but I didn't give him the oxygen. Instead, I leaned forward, reopened the folder, and handed it to Vanessa again directly. This time, not as an object, but as a verdict. Your husband and my wife, I said calmly, have been emotionally involved for months. This isn't speculation. These aren't misunderstandings or exaggerated screenshots. Vanessa finally looked up. Her eyes were glassy now. Not crying, not yet. But you could see the pressure building behind the glass. This is a pattern, I continued, of trust, of time, of intimacy that had no business existing between 2 people who are married to other people. I sat back. My job was done. Vanessa looked at Derek like she'd never actually seen him before. And that's when my phone lit up on the table. Nicole. 6 missed calls. It vibrated again. Nicole. 7 missed calls. And again. Nicole. 8 missed calls. Derek glanced at it, then at me, panicking. His eyes were saying, she knows. She's calling. Stop this. I reached out, picked up the phone, and swiped it off without even looking at the screen. I didn't silence it. I turned it off completely. The act was deliberate. Symbolic. It said, we're not negotiating anymore. Derek tried again. This time in that weak, breathy voice people use when they know their version of the story is dying in real time. Marcus, listen. I swear it wasn't ever physical. I mean, not like you think. I turned my eyes to him, cold as steel. You sure you want to stick to that sentence with Vanessa in the room? He went silent. Vanessa blinked again, then flipped another page. There it was. Nicole's selfie on the hotel bed. Same room as the one in Derek's photo. 2 glasses of champagne. No caption this time. Just the visual math anyone could solve. Vanessa exhaled through her nose, like someone slowly realizing they've been breathing secondhand air for a decade. Still, no one yelled, because the yelling wasn't necessary anymore. The truth was in the room. It didn't need volume. It had mass now. Derek shifted forward in his seat. Vanessa. No, she said softly, but firm. Don't. One word. That's all it took to freeze him. She looked at me again, and this time there was gratitude. Twisted with pain, yes. But somewhere beneath the wreckage, I saw something else, relief. Because someone had finally stopped lying to her. I stood. Vanessa, I'm sorry for ruining your night. I don't need anything from you. I just figured you deserve to know what room you've been living in. I looked at Derek one last time. As for you, don't worry. Nicole will be calling you next. He looked like he wanted to say something brave. But cowards don't age into courage. They age into silence. As I reached the door, I heard Vanessa's voice, quiet, breaking. How long? Derek didn't answer. I didn't turn around. The door clicked shut behind me. And that, right there, was the first real apology anyone had given in that house in years. The door hadn't even clicked shut behind me before I heard the crack of something soft but final. Maybe a photo frame, maybe a vase. Something small that used to mean something. Now it meant evidence. I didn't stop walking, but for the sake of honesty, I'll tell you what happened inside, because I can imagine it in vivid, crystal detail, and Vanessa confirmed some of it later. She kept flipping. Messages, screenshots, metadata, hotel bills. The ones Derek had probably told her were for networking events or quick turnarounds. Barely worth packing for. Every lie has a shape. And every shape leaves a hole when it collapses. Vanessa studied the printouts like she was solving her own kidnapping. Not frantically, not emotionally. Systematically. That's what broke Derek more than anything. She didn't scream. She processed. This isn't what you think, he stammered, gesturing at the photos like they were misfiled receipts. These are out of context. That hotel, she had her own room. It wasn't physical. It was emotional, maybe, but not like that. Vanessa didn't look up, just turned another page. He kept talking. She leaned on me. I leaned on her. We were both in rough spots. It got blurry, but I didn't cross a line. Vanessa, still not looking at him, asked, "Did you ever delete messages from me when she texted you?" Derek froze. That was the moment. Not the hotel invoice. Not the picture of Nicole in his car wearing his hoodie. Not even the voice memo where Nicole giggled, "Can't believe we almost got caught in that elevator." Your face was priceless. No. What cracked the shell wide open was that question. Did you erase me for her? Because that's not something you do for just a friend. Derek tried to shift again. Vanessa, baby, please. You know me. You know my heart. I never meant. You never meant for me to find out, she cut in. And then she whispered it. I want him out of this house. That sentence didn't shake the walls. It dismantled the foundation. Derek's jaw unhinged like he was about to launch into another excuse. But the words died. His mouth moved. His eyes scrambled across the room, looking for something to cling to. Nothing. No grip left. She didn't scream. She didn't sob. She just set the folder down on the couch beside her and stood up, like her bones had suddenly remembered they weren't made of compromise. I want you out, she said again. He stayed seated, hoping inertia would buy him mercy. She turned and walked down the hall without another word. When she came back, she dropped a duffel bag at his feet. He hadn't packed it. She had. That's when he realized she'd suspected something for longer than he wanted to believe. He stood slowly, arms limp, lips parted like a child caught stealing. But Vanessa didn't even look at him. And I? Well, I was already outside by then. No victory speech, no moral high ground, no cinematic one-liner. Just the crisp air of early evening, and the sound of one life unraveling behind me. I didn't even feel triumphant. It wasn't satisfaction. It was symmetry. 2 people had built something dishonest behind my back. I just walked it into the light. I got in my car and didn't start it right away. Just sat there, hands on the wheel, watching the reflection of the house in the rearview mirror. Derek didn't come running out after me. Vanessa didn't chase me down to say thank you. Good. This wasn't about me being a hero. This was about cutting the wire that fed 2 people's delusion and walking away while they stared at the smoke. I didn't take the folder with me. I left it on the table. Because I wasn't the one who needed the proof anymore. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and desperation. Nicole always cleaned when she was nervous. Not real cleaning, the cosmetic kind. Surface wipes, oversprayed countertops, neatly folded throws. A silent, frantic ritual to create the illusion that nothing's wrong. She was pacing near the front door when I walked in. Hair tied up like she hadn't left the house. No shoes, just socks sliding over the hardwood as she stopped dead in her tracks. Where were you? Her voice was sharp but brittle. She was expecting a lie. Some forgettable excuse that would give her space to keep pretending. Apologizing, I said, setting my keys down slowly on the side table. She squinted, mouth twitching into a half-smile. The kind people wear when they think they've just heard a punchline but haven't caught the joke yet. Apologizing. To Derek. MHM. I nodded, slipping out of my jacket. For what exactly? She tried to sound casual, but I could hear it. That hitch behind her throat. Something was off, and she knew it. Like a tightrope walker realizing halfway across that the tension in the rope had changed. I told him the truth, I said, walking past her toward the living room. In front of Vanessa. Silence. Then footsteps behind me. Quick now. You what? She caught up to me, grabbed my arm. What truth? I looked down at her hand on my sleeve, then back at her face. Red-cheeked, wide-eyed. A little smudge of mascara on her bottom lid. She hadn't cried yet, but her body knew it was coming. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't flinch. I told him what's been happening, what I've seen, what I found. I showed Vanessa. And there it was, like watching glass spiderweb from the center out. Her face didn't shatter. It cracked. Slow. She stepped back. You told Vanessa. I nodded. You ruined everything. Now the tears came. Instantly. No build-up, a faucet twist. Drama on demand. But not the wailing kind. These were tears of strategy, damage control, manufactured grief. You don't understand, she said, pacing again. It was just, he got me. I was going through so much. And you were always so distant. I held up a hand. No. She stopped. I'm not interested in the spin, Nicole. You blindsided me, she hissed. You should have talked to me first. You would have lied. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. You would have said it wasn't physical. That you were just close. That it was nothing. It was nothing, she shouted, but her voice broke on the second word. I tilted my head. Then why are you crying like your world just collapsed? She froze. That silence. That was the moment she realized the steering wheel was no longer in her hands. The narrative wasn't hers to control anymore. I didn't wait. I turned toward the bedroom, grabbed a small overnight bag I'd already packed. One change of clothes, toothbrush. Nothing dramatic, just done. She followed me down the hall. What are you doing? Giving us space. Her voice rose again. So what? You're just leaving. I'll be staying elsewhere for now. For now, she echoed, voice cracking. So you think you can just walk out and what? Punish me? Make me feel guilty? I zipped the bag, slung it over my shoulder. Guilt isn't something you make someone feel. It's just the sound truth makes when it finally hits the floor. She started sobbing then. For real this time, the kind that folds your body in half. But I didn't go to her. I stepped past her in the hallway, down the stairs, and paused at the front door. "You ruined everything," she whispered again, quiet now. I turned to her, met her eyes one last time. "No," I said. "You did. I just stopped covering for it." And then I walked out. No slamming door, no theatrics, just a man choosing quiet over chaos. Because silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the only thing loud enough to end the performance. The next morning, Nicole texted me. "Please come home. We need to talk." By noon, she'd sent 6 more. One was a long paragraph about how everything had been a blur and how I'd misinterpreted a lot of things. She used phrases like emotional proximity and complex bonds, the kind of nonsense you fish off therapy blogs and weaponize when you're caught. But I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, just clarity. She tried calling too, left voicemails that sounded rehearsed. Pauses in the right places, shaky breaths to sell remorse. By evening, she'd moved to damage control phase 2, apologizing to Vanessa. Big mistake. Vanessa blocked her. Instantly. She'd had her closure. She didn't need Nicole's PR tour. Derek, meanwhile, had moved into a mid-tier hotel off the highway. The kind of place with sad wallpaper and continental breakfast that smelled like wet toast. He texted me once, just said, "I was wrong. I'm sorry." I didn't answer. He wasn't the point anymore. He never really was. I didn't post about it. Didn't go telling friends or neighbors. No group chats full of venting or, guess what she did, stories. Instead, I scheduled a quiet meeting with a lawyer I trusted. A measured man. No firebrand, no drama. We sat in his office, just the two of us and a legal pad. I wasn't there to destroy anyone. I was there to reclaim the space I'd been pushed out of, my own life. We talked options, discussed timelines. No yelling, no threats, just facts. The next day, Nicole came to my temporary apartment unannounced. I opened the door and she looked smaller, like the story she'd built around herself had finally collapsed, and now she had to wear the truth like a sweater 2 sizes too big. "I know I messed up," she whispered. I said nothing. "I was lonely, Marcus," she added, trying to fill the silence. "And Derek was just there. He saw me. You stopped seeing me." That was the spin she was settling on. My crime was distraction. Her punishment, betrayal. "I'm not here to fight," she said quickly. "I just need to know if this is it. If you're really done." I stepped aside. Let her in. Let her talk. She went on for 20 minutes. Apologies mixed with rationalizations. Memories twisted into justification knots. She cried, wiped her eyes, touched my arm like proximity could rewind history. And then she said it. "Can we try again, please? I'll do the work. I'll cut contact. Whatever it takes." I looked at her for a long moment, not with hate, not even sadness, just observation. "You wanted me to apologize," I said. She nodded, confused. "What?" "For making Derek uncomfortable," I continued. "That was your big ask, the start of this whole thing." I didn't know what else to say then," she stammered. I panicked. I gave a small, empty smile. "Well, I did what you asked." I apologized. "Marcus, that's the last thing I'll ever do for you." She didn't cry right away. She just froze, like her brain short-circuited, like she realized she had no more pages left in the script. "I never wanted this," she whispered. I nodded. "Neither did I. But you chose it every day you texted him back." She stood there for another minute, maybe hoping I'd crack, that I'd reach for her hand, offer some poetic gesture that absolved her. I didn't. Eventually, she walked out. No hug, no promise, just the sound of the door closing behind her. Final. Not because I said so, but because the version of me who once would have forgiven her didn't live here anymore. The apartment I moved into isn't much. 1 bedroom, mismatched plates, no headboard, just clean walls and quiet floors. The kind of place you don't bring anyone to impress. You bring yourself to breathe. It's on the 3rd floor of a brick walk-up with a small balcony that catches the afternoon sun just right. I bought a second-hand armchair and placed it by the sliding glass door. That's where I sit most evenings. No TV blaring, no dinner conversations laced with tension, just the slow, deliberate sound of peace returning to my bones. I wake when I want, cook for myself, work, walk, sleep, repeat. You'd think it would be lonely. And maybe it is, in a way, but not the kind of lonely that eats at you. It's the kind that heals, the kind that doesn't ask you to explain yourself every day. About 4 months after the folder incident, I got an email from Vanessa. Simple subject, thank you. Inside, just a few lines. I don't know how long it would have gone on if you hadn't said something. I kept gaslighting myself. I thought I was being insecure or needy or paranoid. Thank you for pulling the curtain back. I would have stayed in the dark forever. I stared at the message for a long time, not because it stunned me, but because it settled something. I replied that evening. You deserved better. We both did. No signature. No awkward sign-off. That was the last we spoke, and that was enough. The letter from Nicole came a week later. Handwritten, cream envelope. No return address, but I recognized the loopy cursive instantly. She always dotted her I's with a little hook, like a fishing line. Inside, 3 pages neatly folded. The kind of apology people write when they know they've lost the right to speak but are doing it anyway, out of hope or guilt. She said she missed me, that she'd started therapy, that she'd gone back through our old photos and realized how far she'd drifted. She wrote about her parents' divorce, about childhood wounds, about how Derek had filled a gap that wasn't his to fill. She asked to meet, just once, for coffee, to talk, to maybe see if anything could still be salvaged between 2 people who once meant the world to each other. I read the letter once, then again, slower. Then I folded it in half, walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer with the trash bin, and dropped it in. No ceremony, no dramatic burn, just paper meeting plastic. I rinsed my hands, opened the cabinet, pulled down my favorite mug, the one with the tiny chip on the handle that no one else ever noticed, and made a cup of coffee. I stepped out onto the balcony. The sun was dipping low, casting gold across the tops of the buildings. A warm, tired kind of light, like the day was exhaling. I sat, took a sip, and smiled. Not big, not dramatic, just enough to acknowledge the quiet. No more spinning stories. No more questions about where she was, or who he was, or who I was in the equation. Just air. Just light. Just me. Not healed, not broken. Just whole enough. And for the first time in years, no one else's silence was louder than my own.